Riding a subway car late at night creates a specific isolation. You're sealed inside a moving metal tube, deep underground, completely disconnected from immediate help. Because physical escape is blocked until the next stop, our brains rely on reading the room. We scan the posture, the eye contact, and the movements of strangers to gauge the safety. Imagine a young woman traveling alone in one of these cars. She glances up and down the row, runs calculation on every passenger within sight. In this enclosed environment, the baseline expectation is mutual indifference. When someone breaks that unspoken social rule, the brain registers it as a severe, immediate threat. Let's map the geometry of this train car. On one side, the solitary passenger. Directly across sits a trio, an older woman flanked by two men. The anomaly is the center woman. Her eyes lock onto the girl. The girl tries to de-escalate. She breaks eye contact, checks her phone, and stares downward. But every time she glances back up, those eyes are still fixed exactly on her. Beside the staring woman, the two older men remain entirely disengaged. They don't speak, they don't look across the aisle, and they seem unreactive to the intense staring occurring inches away. This initiates cognitive tunneling. As fear rises, the girl's brain discards peripheral differentiation, narrowing her world down to the perceived threat. She is now trapped in a cycle of escalating dread. Her survival instincts have become so focused on those unblinking eyes that she is blind to context outside that gaze. The train arrives at a station, and a new variable enters. A tall man in a heavy trench coat steps through the sliding doors. Out of all the available seats, the man chooses the empty space immediately next to the terrified girl. Despite the arrival of this large, imposing figure, the woman across the aisle does not shift her gaze. She does not even acknowledge his presence. The two old men beside her also remain motionless. They stare blankly ahead, completely unresponsive to the disruption in their enclosed environment. For the girl, the feeling of vulnerability is now absolute. She is being watched from the front and crowded from the side, effectively surrounded by impending danger. The train begins to lurch as it decelerates for the next station. The man in the trench coat abruptly rises from his seat. Without warning, the imposing man reaches down and suddenly clamps his large hand tightly around the girl's small wrist. He forcibly yanks her from her seat and drags her through the doors just as they begin to slide shut behind them. The train accelerates into the tunnel, leaving her in the ringing silence of a deserted platform. She is alone with the person who just grabbed her, completely isolated from any witnesses. In this moment, the nightmare of every urban commuter has been fulfilled. From her perspective, she has been the victim of a public, violent abduction. But as the train disappears, the man lets go of her arm and steps back. He tells her, "I saved your life. My intention was not to scare you." He explains what he saw from his height as he stood over the trio. The woman sitting across from her was dead, and the two men were physically holding her corpse upright. This is a demonstration of inattentional blindness. When the brain is actively engaged by a high-stress stimulus, like an aggressive stare, it can entirely fail to perceive a massive, objective threat in the same field of vision. The girl's brain tracked a social violation while missing a physical one. Her focus on the staring provided the cover for a logistical operation, the quiet, coordinated movement of a body. The result is a total displacement of attention, where the brain's own survival mechanisms are exploited to hide a crime in plain sight. Re-examining the trio reveals a series of physical details that were obscured by the initial rush of adrenaline. The gaze was unbroken because a body without life lacks the autonomic function to blink or divert its eyes. The woman ignored the man in the trench coat because she no longer had a nervous system to register environmental changes. This diagram shows the true nature of their behavior. A body without muscle tension is dead weight, prone to slumping sideways. Their unnatural stiffness was not passivity, but the intense structural support required to keep the body upright. Panic blinds us to the quiet, structural anomalies that often house the actual danger. We lock onto the person breaking the social rules and ignore the ones working to maintain an illusion. The next time your instincts dictate fearing the person watching you, analyze the quiet people sitting beside them. Survival often depends on seeing what the panic is trying to hide.